Naked Shamanism. Welcome to With Insights Radio. I'm your host, Iggy Garcia. I will take you on a journey across the universe through shamanism, metaphysical, and holistic. So sit back and relax and enjoy the show. All right. Well, I want to welcome everybody to the show. I'm Iggy Garcia. I'm your host here on WithinsightsRadio.com. We broadcast here at least twice a month as best we can when we're not having issues, whatever, with our computers or our servers. So, like we start our shows, we want to honor the ancestors. Want to light a candle. Just give thanks to those who come before us, who trailblaze the path for us to be where we are today. Some good, some not so good, but yet they trailed it.
I like that. Yeah. I like that much better than the cleanup picture or cleanup batter. Shh. Oh, heck.
And I just light a little sage here, a little combination sage that I've put together. Since this is a very important part of my journey, and part of my medicine, the work I do. I give thanks to Great Spirit, Creator, and those who have come before me. Oh, welcome to the show, gentlemen. How are you?
Hey, we're good.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you are feeling better. I'm glad that things have gotten. We try to get you on the top of the month, but hey, we get what we get. I'm still here waiting for the cicadas to pop out of the ground.
Yeah. Oh, right. You don't have them yet, really?
No, I mean, there's some places where they popped up, but I'm waiting for like that 1.5 million cicadas per 15 acres of land.
Well, you maybe you're too far inland. We just got a video from Annelle's sister she's in Virginia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And man, she took a picture of their deck and outside, and they're just everywhere.
Really?
And the
That's
noise.
crazy.
Oh my half.
Yeah, I mean, some places here in Columbus, near Columbus, outside of Columbus, there's some cicadas, but I remember when there was a whole bunch of them, and I'm just waiting for them. I've been doing a little documentary about the cicada. I call it the cicada run.
Yeah.
Where I'm looking for cicadas, but there's no particular timetable. When I find them. That's video number 5. It's not like I have this whole series being promoted, but it's kind of funny because we're talking, and what we're gearing on to talk about is about herbal gardening.
Mm-hmm.
And the aspects of that and what that means. So we did touch about a little bit about the cicadas, how they survive and how they eat and how they live 17 years in the ground and have a whole different existence and a whole different, just a whole different life. And then all of a sudden, by means of which, I don't know, Mother Nature has a way of pushing them up, kind of like us, pushes us and makes us uncomfortable and pushes us up. And then all of a sudden we're like, whoa, here we are. We're inside this little Skeletor suit that we have to get out of, and then we latch to a tree, and then some of us get eaten and some of us fall and some of us don't make it. But that's why we're playing the numbers game.
Well, there's a tidbit, little trivia that I think has always been interesting to me. You think about why so many, and of course the obvious reasons are given, while there's so many that are eaten, and it's just a numbers game. But really what's most interesting to me is the plant aspect. We seldom think of our neighbors, the plants, and what's in it for them.
Sure.
Forests on the eastern seaboard, all the way to past the Mississippi River, all the way up to the Great Plains, some of them are not the best soil. They're not great soil makers. You get over into Illinois and parts of Ohio and Kansas and places in Missouri and places like that. Some of those places down in the river bottoms are great. They have some of the best soil in the world. Illinois soil started out 20 feet deep, and now it's about 13. But so the cicada come out there's a type that comes out in 4 years. There's another one that's 7 to 14, and then there's the 17-year.
Right.
That's perfectly timed to replace the nitrogen used by the trees and the plant life in those poor soils. So if we were to, for whatever reason, stop them from doing this, the forests would simply die.
Wow.
All of them. That's crazy. So
that is crazy to think.
Why so many? Why has creation decided that this little animal needs so many to reproduce efficiently? It's because they're not just doing this to reproduce efficiently. They're doing this to sustain and support the future.
Right.
Which is something we ought to be doing anytime we think of the soil.
Good point. Excellent point.
I'm smart.
Yeah, you're smart. You got nitrogen, then you have the cicada casings, which is like, I'm sure there's some type of
carbohydrate in it.
Carbohydrates in there.
It actually breaks down into sugars, which and also proteins. So you have carbohydrate and protein. Perfect combination in your compost heap every single time to create nitrogen.
I just want to eat some, but
by fermentation. So that is what happens. It's a replacement strategy that is very scientific and very periodic
and ancient,
and it's been around a heck of a long time.
And I bet you there was probably more than a trillion back in the day when they didn't use when they didn't use pesticides, and they didn't, the habitat was more dense, and everything's kind of sparse.
It was the
now.
habitat. Yeah, we've used up a lot of the habitat by putting houses, and parking lots, and roads, and it's surface area,
and that's not sustainable.
No, not really. But who said humans were sustainable? I've heard it said that we're not from here, so why should we care?
Well, we act like that sometimes, don't we?
We do. We do. That's exactly how we act, whether we believe in it or not.
Yeah, I mean, we act like we don't give two rats, about it.
Yep.
Kind of have that mentality. Not necessarily you or me, but there's a lot of people that just don't care. I don't care.
There's a lot of people who are just making ends meet, and that's all they have time to care about.
Yeah.
This is true. This is true.
So it's not like I'm condemning anybody for it. I hate it, but what are you going to do? Best you can.
Right.
We just don't fit. Humans just don't fit. We have no natural weapons.
I have a new shirt.
We have no natural defense, natural protections against the elements. We, we reproduce at an insane rate, regardless of the natural resources around us. We just, we just don't fit. We have to alter everything about our environment to be comfortable.
This is true.
There are only a handful of animals that I'm aware of on the planet that are that dependent on altering their environment.
Well, none of them do it to be comfortable.
And none of them do it to be comfortable. All of them do it for means of survival or reproduction and that sort of thing. But humans, we just do it because. So I guess it is a matter of survival. We would not survive if we did not alter our environment.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, when a human is born, there's a lot of care that goes into raising one human being.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we don't just pop out and run like the elk or the elephant, like woo.
And that whole period of vulnerability is so much longer than any species on the planet.
It's 25 years of age, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. It used to be 18. No, one time it was 16, I think, and now it's 18, 25. So you get them out of the basement, right?
It's actually about 11. If you have the pattern language and the knowledge, you can get by out there in nature at 11 years old. But we don't have that knowledge anymore.
No.
Our ancestors part of that knowledge, and so I'm glad we're talking about that today. I think we talked about what kind of person, just a regular dude or dudette.
Yeah, the decision making surrounding which plants, when to grow, what to grow, why, what plants to pick and why for your area, because you can have this massive list of herbs that you want in your medicine garden.
Well, for example,
and how much of that is practical and actually useful in a limited environment. Very few people have, say, the acreage that we have, where we can basically walk out our door and say, oh, that looks like a good garden spot. Let's build a garden over there. Most people don't have that. Most people have a designated plot, which they can transform into garden with limited spacing, limited real estate. or they have pots
on their deck. I mean, I
on
shouldn't
the
laugh.
windowsills.
You know?
That's literally what they
Yeah.
have. So how do you choose
Mhm.
between the millions and millions of medicinal plants on this planet?
Mhm.
How do you choose which ones to focus on in a practical, useful way that's not just taking up space and
Yeah,
looking pretty?
I give an example. I have a favorite book as an herbalist and a naturopath. I'm going to hold it up so you can see if we can take a
Okay.
picture of it. Take the
That's not-
glare out. Yeah, I think it's not too bad.
I can see it.
If you hold it wrong, it gets all glary.
The herbal
A
medicine.
lot of people have
Maker's
probably
Handbook.
seen this book. This is not one that gardeners generally buy. This is actually the Herbal Medicine Maker's Handbook.
I love this book.
It's about gardening. It's
Mhm.
also about how to make medicine, not just herbal preparations, but how to make the actual medicines, the old herbal drugs.
Mhm.
The back of the book, it gives an example or recommendations for the different parts of the country of what you ought to have in a basic medicine garden, what this author thinks should be in anybody's medicine garden. And the list of herbs is, anywhere from a little over 200 herbs for the West Coast and, just under 200 herbs for the East Coast. And the Midwest he doesn't have a recommendation for the Midwest. I guess all bets are off. But most of us, look at it. If you're just now thinking about putting in some herbs with that kind of a recommendation, you're stuck. Which ones do I plant? What do I grow?
Yeah.
Right.
So what's the decision making first? And we're lucky. I feel like we're fortunate that we have a process that has kind of become our obsession. It's taken over just about every aspect of our lives. Everything that we do, we run through this decision making process, and it works exactly the same way for deciding what to grow in the garden. And what we do is we medicine wheel it. So why don't you go ahead and medicine wheel the herb garden for our family, or just for one person in our family, say, for example, me.
Yeah, this is actually a really good example because some of the health conditions, health concerns that Cloudpiler has to deal with on a regular basis are actually very similar to conditions that, say, my brother and I are dealing with.
And Anel.
And
all of us in this house.
So when addressing what herbs we really wanted to focus on, out of habit, we turn to the critical decision-making processes that we've learned through our Nemenha spirituality, our spiritual religious practices, but we're permaculturists. So nothing ever stays just inside its own dimension. Nothing's ever inside its own little box. It must expand into as many different boxes as possible. So we take the same principles and apply it to permaculture in our garden. So first things first, we study the situation.
Yeah.
What are we really trying to work with? What are we trying to work on? We've got a series of health issues, health conditions that need to be remedied naturally if possible. We have acreage on which we can grow a garden. We don't have soil.
Not much.
Not much soil. We've got a lot of sand. Well, we have a lot of biomass, a lot of matter that can be turned into soil. These are things that we take into consideration. Someone in an urban development would have to take into consideration, what are their land resources? How much space have they got? Well, then it boils down to, well, we could find any number of herbs that we want.
Oh, we grow them all.
We have our favorites, and we would grow them all. Oh, take over.
I'm gonna scoot over. Somebody just drove up. Must have something to do with Jonathan specifically. So we roll with the bunches, right? So we look at environment and we do a deep dive into a deep observation of what we have available to us. And that's fundamental. Anybody who's going to plant anything does that. And if you don't have, you go out in your backyard and all you have is a backyard and you note, there's really not a lot there. We build. So we determined right after we moved here that rototilling the ground was not going to be an option for us. So what we do is we build up. we decide where we're going to grow something, and we make soil on top of that. Now we use the raw meal chip method, and you can use any method you want to, just as long as you put your humus and your organic matter that your plants are going to rely upon. A lot of herbs are not as demanding as like your vegetable garden plants. So it's not as difficult. But, you know, you first take stock, you take an inventory of your environment, but that's not the only inventory you take. Then you take an inventory of what's wrong, what you're aiming for. So for you personally, Iggy, what's one of the symptoms that you've expressed interest to me? We haven't really addressed it, but there's a set of symptoms that you struggle with. We can use that because we might as well get to work on it, right?
Right. I have like a congestion, and I get a mucus buildup and stuff. So in my garden, I actually grow mullein. I have it.
So mullein, why would you grow mullein for now? This is a chronic is it a congestion or is it a chronic cough?
It's I think it's due from a drainage of sinus that goes into my back in the back, and it builds up, and then because it doesn't happen all the time, it just happens at certain times, like when their allergy season, or if I'm eating like dairy, for example. I shouldn't be eating dairy anymore, like I used to like, you know, to do. It affects me. It builds up the muci on my system, my mind, in my nasal cavities.
In your cavity. So what you're saying is that when you cough, you actually produce something with your cough?
Yeah, then I try to kick the phlegm out that's in my chest.
Okay, so you know, there's a lot of people who don't think about this. A cough is not just a cough. You can have a dry, chronic cough, and you cough and cough and cough, and nothing seems to happen.
Yeah.
Or you can have a cough where something is actually produced. It's kind of icky to ask that question.
Yeah.
And ma'am, while we're talking about your cough, do you ever actually cough something up into your hand? Have you ever seen what you're actually coughing?
Is it green? Is it white? Is it yellow? Whatever.
Yeah, that's gross. So why would you want to do it? Frankly, we swallow it. We cough and we swallow, but it's good to know whether it's a productive cough or not. Yours is a productive cough then. Yeah. Mullein is said to be good for the lungs, right? That's why you planted it. Why do you suppose it's said to be good for the lungs?
Because I learned it somewhere along the way.
Yeah, it is actually. It has tiny, tiny hairs that irritate the throat. And what that does is the body rushes fluids in the form of inflammation to that little bit of irritated tissue, and that flows out, creates a more watery phlegm so that you can cough it up and get it out of your body. Your body knows what to do with mullein, but we don't do that.
Yeah.
We swallow it.
Yeah, and so I also use Vicks Vapor Rub too, so that helps. You know, when I have a.
So now that's thymol.
Yeah.
Well, it's menthol, but what does menthol do? Why would you? Because there are plants that produce that.
Yeah, and I put that like right here. Like my mom used to do that for me all when I was a kid.
And that makes sense. You know, it's like putting the roast in a certain size pot. We do that because we were taught to do it. But understand their mechanisms of action. Thymol is a plant. Thymol or menthol are plant oil derivatives that are volatile that go into your mucous membranes of your nose and your sinus and mildly irritate the sinuses, which causes the body to rush fluid to the area. The fluid drains, that comes out, makes everything watery so that it'll go down your throat and not stay all thick and dry up in here. Okay, so mechanism of action is
and then the cough, what it does, it breaks down the mucus that I'm coughing up. Like it suppresses it or breaks it down. And
waters it up.
Yeah, you told me to do that with a handkerchief one time. Believe you told me to use that when I was coughing. But what I found that's really, really helped, and I kind of found out by accident, was actually burning white sage.
Why do you suppose white sage would have
it's probably done similar stuff that we've been talking about, but it's been it's the most productive because it's when I burn it, it's just I do a lot better.
Well, you know what you're actually
antibacterial, antiviral, all that good stuff.
You're irrigating your brain. No, you're not irrigating your brain. You're moistening. You're adding water, and that helps. Okay, so mechanisms of action are really, really important to look at when we're talking about the symptoms. So there's something that you would plant. You would choose at least 3, as you have, different plants to make sure you have them in your garden. So you have chosen mullein,
white sage,
which I really wouldn't. Mullein makes an inflammation for a different reason. Those tiny little hairs actually stick in your tissue.
Okay.
And they'll stay there until your body breaks them down. You really want to use something that just waters up your mucus and makes it fluid.
Okay.
Those little hairs of mullein can actually end up, after they've helped you, they can actually end up causing more cough because you got to get rid of them.
And my body kind of tells me when to use it or not to use it.
Yeah.
My
mullein is listed as a lung herb because it's always been used in smoke.
Okay.
And that's conflation. That's a mechanism of action that is conflated from previous use. And that's not really how we want to go about this, although it's really good in smoke combinations like your sage, for example. Why do you suppose if it's not all that good for the lungs, why would it necessarily be listed as a lung herb? I mean, every herbal calls it a lung herb.
Yeah.
Well, it's because it helps your smoking mixture stay lit.
Okay.
It's
it burns.
Fuel.
It burns differently than the.
It burns cleanly, and it helps your mixture stay lit, and it has a little bit of effect in the respiratory system. But you're making decisions based upon a deeper understanding of what you need than most people go into. In our family, for example, we have. Well, my medical history proves that I have an underactive immune system. Anything comes down the road, I catch it. Somebody my grandchildren get a sniffly nose and I've got pneumonia.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then a person would definitely be taking a look at flu season. So in Ohio, flu season is still fall and spring.
Yeah.
All through spring. You can't really grow much in the winter, can you?
Not necessarily, and things don't necessarily grow as well inside either.
No, they don't. For one thing, you can't grow enough of them.
Yeah, and then herbs are really delicate. They need a lot of potent sun.
Well, they need sunshine. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need sunshine, poor soil, and generally you got to grow a big mound of them.
Yeah.
And if you grow them in a pot in the house, you get one sniffly nose for a weekend, you're done. You have no more medicine for the rest of the season.
This is true.
So that's why we plant things outside. By the way, for you, I would definitely plant some horehound.
I do have horehound.
Do you use it though?
Well, I planted it last year because it was small. Now it's gotten really big. It's really
it'll
good.
Get really big, and you'll have lots of it.
And so the thing is, I don't know. I've never used it before, so I'm not sure if I use the root or if I use the leaf or all of it.
Use the leaf as a tea.
Okay.
And also I would recommend that you replace your if you're not putting mullein in your smoke when you burn the sage, put those together, burn them together.
Okay, I'll do that.
Sage and a horehound. They make a wonderful cough drop or a cough remedy.
Right.
Horehound, not only when you use it properly as a tea, for example, you're not only thinning the mucus, but you're also suppressing the cough a little bit, that reflex that you got to cough.
Okay.
It'd be much better to just swallow than, spend 10 minutes hacking that up and getting a little bit to move through. So this is what I do. I take the medicine wheel and I go through each point and decide for our family, what to have in our garden based on the medicine wheel, so that I can cover all the bases. Now, our medicine garden is about 1,400 square feet. That's the formal pattern garden. We're planting a garden that has the medicine wheel in the center and then the Chief Joseph pattern in garden beds on either side. It's really pretty. Cool. We'll be putting some pictures up and things like that. But in that much space, there's a dang lot of herbs. We'll push about 138 different species in that amount of space. And then we have what we call the meditation garden, which is our shady area, because there are herbs that grow better in shade. Mainly the adaptogens, for example, grow better in shade. So they'll be under the grandmother tree back there that you remember.
Right.
It'll also be a nice meditation space. But we also have the Labyrinth Garden, which is another 14 or 1,500 square feet. That's actually a food forest where we'll be growing plants that grow well underneath trees.
Nice.
So, you know, that's way over what most people have available in a yard, patio, or what have you. So we have this available. We medicine wheel this with regard to how much space and the resources that we have.
Sure.
But what do I mean by medicine wheel? We've talked about this over and over again. Our bodies are divided, just like everything in the universe is divided on the medicine wheel, into issues. And so what I do for folks when they ask me the question is I ask them to get this book, first of all, that I showed.
Okay.
Because mainly there's a lot of different ways to prepare the herbs. This fellow teaches you how to prepare the herbs, and he talks about how to grow them, how to not only prepare them, but preserve them so you have them in the wintertime when they're not growing.
Sure.
And he talks about, you know, what to grow in your garden. So have the book, because he's got an excellent listing for Americans in that book, both the West Coast and the East Coast. I like that because most of the more useful herbals are written in England. And if they're written in the United States, they're for England because that's where they get all the information.
Okay.
I don't appreciate that very much. But then what I do is I look at the medicine wheel. And of course, in our medicine wheel, we begin in the West, which is, as you recall, the liver, kidney, gallbladder, that group of organs. And I take a look at what might be going on with the liver, kidney, and gallbladder. Now, in your case, you have a lung complaint and other complaints, I'm sure, because you're like me. You're of an age, and these things start happening. So the issue here is that we've already talked about the lung, which is over opposite the medicine wheel, and we very often have to balance the medicine wheels. We're heavily weighted now with the lung. So I would take a look, and he has the lists of herbs, and you look at the ones that specifically would handle your condition. I would think that your whorehound, and well, I made a little list.
Well, like my garden in the back, which is a half moon garden.
Yeah, I remember. You have
permaculture one. Back there, I have a whorehound. I have
let's see how good you're doing.
All kinds of mints. I have all kinds of, let's see, catnip back there. I also have wormwood back there as well. There's just...
I'm going to recommend that you add a couple of things specifically for your lungs that will produce a goodly amount of medicine that you can preserve for the winter simply by following the instructions in the Maker book on how to make them, and you can have them on hand. See, here's the issue. You have a chronic condition of the lung. Is it worse in the bad weather months?
Now I don't even know. You just live with it. It's just like it's like you don't even know. It's
most of us, when we're talking lung, mouth, throat, nose, sinuses.
Yeah, it's my digestive issues too. I've had digestive issues too in the past where I have my intestines would twist because they couldn't push the food, like certain foods. So what is that?
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
Like a diver type.
I'm gonna suggest something. Very often when we're dealing with the medicine wheel and our bodies and herbs, what happens on directly across the medicine wheel, if something happens in the East Point, the respiratory system is the East Point, for example, we handle that and we're going to plant some herbs for that. We're going to make medicine for that, but we do not neglect the fact that very often the answer is across the wheel, directly across the wheel. In the case of the lungs, for example, in a chronic situation like this, why on earth would you have to be? Well, let me back up and let's take a look at this. What's the purpose of the cough? Just the mechanism of the cough. Why has our body evolved?
To discharge something that doesn't need to be there.
To discharge, to expel. It's the same mechanism as the other hole in your body.
Right. The ones goes up the pooper.
Yeah. What's interesting is that they are embryologically the same tissue. They're part of the integument system. So one, did I lose you?
No, I think we kind of did one. We did that internet dance.
that
that little,
dance.
that little dance.
You stop moving, but I can still hear you.
Yeah.
They're much the same tissue. They're related. So you get all the way back into the, the early evolution of the fetus during the gestation period. We're talking about the same thing. Very often, maladies that affect one system on one side of the medicine wheel will equally affect the other. So the better way, we have to admit that coughing garbage out of your system, it's a method of removing garbage from your system. So we would have to assume that you just live in an environment that is filled with particulate matter and smoke and garbage. And is that where you live?
Yeah. I mean, I live in a city.
Not enough.
And,
No, I mean,
it could be my home too,
You would have to, you'd have to be walking through smoke most of the time.
Yeah.
And then that method is not effective. It's effective to a degree, but not very efficient. Your more efficient way of getting garbage out of your system is demonstrated by what your body wants to do when you cough. When you cough, you're not spitting it out anywhere, right?
Yeah, well, I spit it out.
Well, most people don't.
Most people swallow it.
Yeah, there's a reflex to swallow. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Your body is telling you where it more effectively needs to go to get out of your body. Your bowel, your digestive system needs to take care of that. So we would automatically be looking across the wheel to where the, where the digestive system is. In this case, actually, I should be rolling around the wheel. In this case, we've got a lung condition, and your bowel ought to be removing. It's further down along the wheel. Your bowel should be removing that garbage. So let's take a look at some of the things that you need to have in your garden that will affect both the lungs in the north and the bowel in the east. The west is the liver, kidney, gallbladder. We'll get to that in a minute. So the better way to get rid of garbage is through the bowel or through the kidneys, right? And I think I did lose you. And can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, good. Okay. And there's the video. What happened?
My computer was like, someone took over, and it was just like, I'm like, Russians? I don't know. Aliens?
Okay,
whorehounds? I don't know.
Whorehounds. I got way off the track. I'm talking to you, somebody who already knows how to use the medicine wheel. So as I was in the pause thinking about how to better explain let's go over just a little bit. Our medicine wheel begins in the west. The west is physically, according to our physical body, or in association with our physical body, it's the liver, kidney, and gallbladder. And we move to the north, and the north is the respiratory system. And from there, we move to the east, which is the digestive and alimentary tract. Then we move to the south, which is the skin, muscles, bones, and joints, and connective tissues, and stuff like that. We then move into the center, and we address the Sky Father point, which is the immune system. And there's another point in the center known as the Earth Mother, which involves the endocrine system. And then finally, the center point is the circulatory system and everything associated with it. So right now, we talked about the North Point. We started in the west. When we medicine wheel the garden, do that. Start in the west, go north, go east, go south, go center, and make a list first of your issues. Then go back to your list, which we've done. We've gone to your respiratory complaint. We just jumped ahead because we know how to do this, right?
Sure.
Occurred to me I might be confusing people. Make your list of your symptoms first, then go to and medicine wheel those, get them all charted out on the circle with the cross, and the west point, the north point, the east point, south point. We've gone over that. Get it written down so that you can look at it and say, okay, my primary concern, and write it down in the proper position. We've done that. Now, that's not, we've decided, the best way the body knows how to get rid of garbage. And the whole idea is getting rid of garbage. And we know that it's a problem with waste material. And how do we know that? There's an assumption here.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I have made, because I didn't ask you the question. There is an assumption. This is a chronic problem that goes on all the time. And so we're not dealing right now with the flu, right? It's not strep throat. It's not pneumonia. It's not bronchitis. Those are inflammations that are most often caused by organisms. Yours, not so much. Yours is garbage. So our concern here would be how to more efficiently get the garbage out. So we want to use the bowel, use the kidneys. So look across the wheel, liver, kidney, gallbladder. Liver, kidney, gallbladder is what facilitates the bowel's function and digestion, breaking junk down. So I'm going to suggest some herbs to you, and you should write this down.
Okay.
This is specifically for you because there are herbs that not only help the lungs, but simultaneously affect digestion and the liver, kidney, gallbladder. So 3 points of the medicine wheel all at once.
Okay.
That's awesome. Angelica. You're going to use the root and the thick stem. And Angelica is a great, huge plant. It grows a big vegetable. So give it some space. Give it a good 3 square feet. You'll grow enough Angelica in one plant to serve you the rest of the year because you can take it in a number of different ways. And you'll learn about that in the, either by calling us later and we'll go over it, or, get the book. A plant that you don't have that you really should have is fennel.
Fennel, okay.
Fennel, and I love that amber brown colored. It's so beautiful. Doesn't matter what you get, green, brown, red, purple, whatever, but all pretty. It's a gorgeous plant for a garden. Okay. But eat that every day.
And the birds love it.
Yeah, you have a problem, and you'll make extracts and you'll put it in your tea, and you'll do all kinds of stuff with it. You have some difficulty with your gut, and you mentioned twisting of your gut.
Yeah, that happened to me about 15 years ago. I was eating, there's certain foods I can't eat because my body just doesn't recognize it as food. Peanuts is one of those. So,
oh, me too.
I had a big jar of dry roasted peanuts one day, just working, not eating good lunch, whatever, and just keep popping them and not chewing them down. And eventually they got twisted in there and it turned black, and they were going to cut it all out, but they ended up cleaning me up and stuff. And I haven't really had any issue, but then sometimes once in a while I get these flare-ups where I get like this pain in my stomach, it's like, it's almost like a knife.
You get gas.
Huh?
You get gas, and it's one of the most painful things that humans experience.
And I haven't had it since then because I try to watch what I eat versus what I'm not eating. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not eating these things you're telling me, but I'm avoiding things that would flare it up.
Yeah. Grow fennel.
Okay.
Now, also grow marshmallow root. Now, marshmallow root is a weed. Everybody knows it's a weed. You don't want that in your garden, right? You got to kill. Break out the Roundup and kill your marshmallow root. Except no. Plant it. Cultivate it like you would a garden vegetable. Marshmallow root, you use the root. It is the most mild and most helpful thing for your lungs, your digestive system, and your liver and your kidneys. So triple whammy. There are 3 things right there that you should be growing for your particular complaint, because the decision making was all done on the medicine wheel, using the medicine wheel. You probably could have gone years and years and years going through herbals and not come up with triple whammies like that. And, it's like Jonathan said, we're trying to bring as many aspects together to make a complex system, because we are a complex system. It's when we start thinking in terms of simple systems that we screw up. The remedy, of course, for the torsion of the bowel caused by peanuts is don't eat peanuts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That wasn't the problem. Eating peanuts probably give you some cramps. Your body doesn't like them. Me neither. But it doesn't mean you can't eat them. It was the way you eated them.
Yeah, that's the way, yeah.
You eated them bad.
Yeah.
I did that with popcorn once.
Popcorn? Yeah, I have to watch out popcorn too.
Yeah, so you and I are a lot alike. We
Mhm.
do these things and we don't provide ourselves enough fluid for the bowel to function properly when we eat it. Now that's a dead giveaway because you have a lung
H2O.
complaint.
Yeah.
Your lungs are constantly trying to get fluid into the bowel.
Yeah.
A better way to do that is, he's nodding. A better way to get fluid in your bowel than swallowing your phlegm is,
Are you asking me? Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
drink water.
Drink water. Well, that's what I've been doing too. I've uptake when I uptake my H2O,
It helps,
it goes
doesn't
up.
it?
Then I don't have nearly as much issues. It's when I go without, and you this is just common sense. You learn really quick about your body. It just it flares up really quick, and it flares up quick.
It can be frustrating when something goes on and on and on, and there's so many people throwing answers at you, and you try everything, and you just want it to stop.
Yeah.
So there's some really good things. I have this on a little piece of paper and I've written it down from the Herbal Medicine Maker's Handbook. 3 things that I personally need in my medicine garden because I have exactly the same problem that you are, you're describing. You and I are a lot the same that way. Okay, so.
And your body's trying to excrete too. Your body's trying to excrete uric acid too, and puts it, shoots it up in
get the garbage out. I mean, we produce a lot of garbage. I mean, we use what we use in food, and the rest is waste, and needs to become soil. The whole idea is to get that soil out of your body and in the soil, so you can grow more soil. But we carry it around with us, and that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I've done is I've done this medicine wheel. We go all the way around the medicine wheel first, and we end up with a list. Here's the east, or let's do this properly. Where's my west point? Blew off the table.
Did it really?
It's got it because it's not here. Oh my God.
Blown into the
on the
west.
floor. So we got a fan going underneath us because it's warm in this room.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I do, I write it down on slips of paper, and then I stick them on the medicine wheel in their points, north, south, east, west, and 3 points in the center. So doing this, I have 3 herbs from the west point for the west point. I have 3 for the north point. I have 3 for the east point. We've talked about it. And we have Sky Father, center, south. It's EM. What point is EM?
Dude, I don't know.
West.
I think it's west.
Why would I write EM for the west point?
No,
New
Earth
point.
Mother. He's saying it was
Earth Mother. That's Earth Mother.
Yeah.
Don't ask me questions.
EM is Earth Mother, right?
Hard questions. So what I've got here,
I had to look at what he had on his list.
brain fart. What we end up with just by doing the simple medicine wheel exercise is 21 herbs or more that you should have specific about you in that little crescent garden in your backyard. 21 different herbs. You're going to run out of space.
And I also have a medicine wheel garden next,
Yeah, that's right. So you have tons of space, and you don't have 21 different specific herbs in there, do you?
21, I can't say no.
You don't?
No.
No, you don't. For me,
No, I know I don't.
Lacking the west point, which I have no idea where it went. For the north point, I've got to have, of course, our medicine wheel is going to have them all because we make medicines out of everything. But my north point is going to have colt's foot, thyme, and mint. We talked about some of those things and why you need them and I need them. Both of us need them. My east point is going to have angelica and fennel and marshmallow root and a number of other things. But those 3 are a good place to start. And the reason I chose them is the medicine wheel. It makes it easy. I don't have to go to some Mr. Google Pants on the internet and find out what, he and Ma Google think of what I should be putting in my mouth. In the South Point, I'm going to have comfrey, calendula, and plantain. I have some skin problems. I have injuries that affect my muscles and recovery from pain. Comfrey, calendula, plantain. These are 3 things that are specific for my particular concern in the skin, muscles, bones, and joints part of the garden.
Sure.
Now, you don't have to plant them in necessarily in this order. You have a medicine wheel garden already, so it makes good sense.
Mm-hmm.
But just have the thing in your garden. So from the south, we're heading up into the center. Sky Father, everybody, and I'm just going to draw the line here, everybody should have Chinese skullcap. You should be writing this down, because this is not just for me, this is everybody.
Grow it if you can. If you can't grow it,
Buy it.
Buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can grow it. It's a weed. It grows everywhere, okay? Your garden will do fine.
Okay.
Chinese skullcap, you start it in seeds inside. They're very delicate. Once they have 3 or 4 leaves on the plant, you take them out and plant them as plugs. Don't really necessarily try and plant them in the soil, because you won't be able to tell what's what. You won't be able to tell them from the other weeds.
Yeah.
Echinacea. You got to have lots of echinacea.
And I have that.
It takes up a lot of space. So, I mean, how many?
I have them partitioned so they don't grow out crazy. So I just keep them in a big bundle. I kind of control them a little bit.
You need a border of echinacea. You need 8 inches wide for the roots. They're going to grow out like this, and you need 20 feet.
Oh, they'll take your whole year. They'll take the whole thing. I know that for a fact.
And they should.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can mow your lawn. They're not going to have a problem out there, but you got to have lots. Some of these, you need quite a lot of room in order to get enough.
Yeah.
Because you're going to use the roots and the leaves on that, and you need enough. And you need to be able to put up enough for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
They work really well dried.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these plants do not. The other one you've got to have, and everybody can have this in their garden, and it's yarrow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah,
Yarrow is a good old-fashioned.
Yeah.
You don't have to have lots and lots of that. That's just good, straightforward fever and runny nose and cough medicine.
And that's a plant you have to kind of be careful with, because there's another one that looks like yarrow, but it's not. And it's very poisonous.
No.
Yeah.
No.
In some
you told me that. You told me that.
Yeah, but
he's talking about cows in the Alpines.
Yeah, we're talking about the mountains of Utah.
Yeah.
In Ohio, not so much.
Because I remember we were talking about that when we were doing the permaculture here. And Jonathan's like, hey, this is yarrow. And you're like, no, that's not yarrow. Don't eat that. You will die and have excruciating pains in your stomach.
It was yarrow.
Go buy some yarrow.
Okay.
Buy the plant. You know what you're planting.
Yeah.
Put it in there. Get it growing. Get it growing. This is one of the old standby cough medicine, sore throat medicine, fever medicine, clean out your gut medicine, help your digestion medicine. It's just really one of the best ones. So those 3 things for the immune system are easy for everybody to grow. And with the current situation, with a novel coronavirus, everybody should have this, because if you have those 3 things, you're going to be short-circuiting a couple of the life cycle issues of COVID. You're not really curing anything, but if you stop a couple of the life cycle issues or elements of an organism, you can interfere. The word is interfere. We do this with chickens out in the garden. We do an instant garden thing. We have a chicken tractor, and it's a little 3x4 pan that is connected to another 3x4 pan, and we move that along like a tractor. Every couple of weeks we move it. And what that is it's disturbing the cycle of weeds and insects. So then what we plant there, I mean, if we take a picture of it right now, all around the little garden, as we've moved it, we've planted in that area, we build our beds on top of that high fertility. It's all surrounded by weeds, just like usual. But in the garden bed itself, there's hardly any, and I haven't been doing any weeding. So the same thing applies. Interfere with the reproductive system or the life cycle of an organism, and you do the same thing as we're doing with our chicken gardens.
Okay.
That really does apply. It may not sound like it applies, but it really does have application.
Dude, we are Nemenhov. That which applies to the micro very often applies to the macro, and vice versa.
I found it. Today, we're going to go back to the West Point because I found...
Oh, looky here.
For me, it's Calendula. Calendula, mugwort, yarrow. I'm concentrating on the liver, the gallbladder.
What do you call calendula?
Calendula. That's pot marigold, not the other marigold, the pot marigold. It's the big yellow flower. Mugwort, which I think you already have.
Yeah, I have mugwort.
Mugwort and wormwood are very, very similar.
Yeah. But I do have like specific like mugwort and wormwood.
Yeah, they're almost the same plant. And of course, Yarrow is one of those crossovers. Okay, we've gone to Earth Mother now. Earth Mother is adaptogenic. Everybody needs a little bit of adaptogenic because we are humans. Mm-hmm. And we have stressful lives. So I think everybody who has a little bit of shadiness. Now, in your case, you're planting.
That didn't come out right, but.
Well, our gardens, everybody has some shade in their yard, okay?
You're just a little shady, buddy.
Who's a little unscrupulous.
Now, this is going to be good for you because you're planting things like fennel. And you're planting angelica. These grow up, they produce shade. But you also have some little short trees in your yard, if I remember correctly, that produce some dappled shade.
Yeah, I do. I don't live where I used to live anymore.
Oh, you don't?
I moved from Henderson. Yeah, I'm someplace else now.
Oh, okay. Well, forget.
I don't know if you're. No, you've been here. You've been here.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there are some small trees.
They cast some shade. Yeah. Some of these plants require a little bit of shade, not necessarily deep shade, but some shade, or you'll just roast them. And that's ginseng, black cohosh, and chicory. I'm going to be planting some stone root, but that's for me.
What was the black? What was that?
Black cohosh.
Black
cohosh is listed in all the books, just for women, for tough menstruation and that sort of thing. But it is really a good endocrine-based anti-inflammatory. For pain, for muscle aches, for pain, for problems.
Yeah, it's distinctly antispasmodic.
Anti-inflammatory. Yeah. And so that's why it works so well with women's complaints, is because they have that particular issue.
Okay.
Center self, I'm going to be planting garlic, chilies. So that sounds like your vegetable garden, right? Well,
guess what?
Shut up. It's all one thing, right? But I'm also going to be planting red clover.
Okay, red clover. In the center?
In the center. That's because I have circulatory issues. I've got a heart condition, and I also have hawthorn, and I'm going to be planting some lily of the valley. I will not be planting digitalis because I don't want to die. But
that's the word.
They die. Not a good thing. So there you've got 21 herbs. You've got a dandy little. I've developed a dandy little herb garden for my particular complaints on some slips of paper that now you can take what you've decided. You've made your little map, and you can go to the books, and you can learn specifically about what they do, how to grow them, how to harvest them, when to harvest them, how to preserve them, how to make medicine out of them. Because here's the thing. It makes no difference. I would rather you not grow herbs if you're not going to learn how to use them.
Right. They're just pretty. Most of them aren't.
Well, and here's the thing. You and I both know. Gardening is damn hard work.
Yes.
It's a lot of work. You have to like it. You have to be a gardener. And, you can't just go out and plant these plants and expect to have a pharmacy in your backyard. You have to care for them.
Right.
And so mindfully, don't just go buy a ton of seeds of a whole bunch of different kinds, just plant them out there. You've got to learn how they grow, where they grow, why they grow, how to best care for them, how to harvest them, how to propagate them, harvest them, preserve them, make medicine out of them, and then when you use them, how you use them. There's a lot to know. And so you want to be doing this specifically for the herbs that have to do with your condition.
Correct.
Not just a mishmash of everything.
Right.
It's too confusing, and it's too frustrating.
Okay.
Especially if there's an herb out there in your garden that you never use.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So is any of these plants here plant zone related plants where once they grow in a certain zone, they grow they're a perennial, then when you take them out of that zone, do they become an annual? Because I know like white sage, if you take it out of its zone and bring it to Ohio and grow it, it won't grow again. Like it changes.
Well, garlic is a good example.
Yeah.
Garlic is a 2-year plant. Chiles is a tropical plant. You have to plant them every year. Red clover will come back and you'll fight it the rest of your life. Ginseng, once you plant it, it's perennial. So you got to make sure you like where you put it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black cohosh, again, it's going to come back every single year.
Okay,
Chicory, it's one of the worst weeds mankind has ever encountered. It's also
good medicine.
Also some of the best medicine there ever was. So it will come back and it will propagate and it will be in your yard and your lawn and you'll fight it forever. But thankfully, it's kind of pretty.
They used to put chicory in coffee. I don't know if you knew.
Yeah,
that.
they still do. In the south,
Yeah.
chicory is coffee. But you know what? Blue, real true blue is a difficult color to find in any landscape setting. There are very few plants, flowers that are blue, and chicory is one of them. So for that alone, I will have that scraggly plant in my garden. Okay, so let's see. Comfrey comes back every year, and don't you dare ever cut the root. Never run a rototiller through a comfrey plant. Because every teeny little piece of broken root will become a new plant.
Yeah, that stuff is like really difficult.
But if you leave it alone, it will stay contained in its own clump. It'll never go. It'll get bigger and bigger, but it won't end up taking your whole garden if you don't want it to.
So the comfrey, you use it for what? For biomass, or are you actually using it?
No, I use it. I do use it for biomass, but it's a very specific for the skin, muscles, and bones and joints. When you're dealing with back injuries, comfrey can be a real godsend.
Okay.
Yeah, if I have I love it for when the ticks have attacked and I have problems with my skin. A compress with comfrey leaves is quite good. And it really enhances healing. It triggers the skin to proliferate. It creates healing. So if you have a scarring situation and you don't want a really bad scar, you want to heal from an injury, it's comfrey. Every house should have it.
Okay.
Calendula is an annual. It's a marigold. And it may seed itself. You may have it come back, but your local weeds are going to take over and overcome them. It's something that you would plant by seed every year.
Okay.
Plantain is out there in your yard already.
Yeah, it says hello every day.
You want to move it to where you want it and cultivate it, because the leaves that are growing in your lawn or along your cement, they're really starved. But you put it somewhere and you cultivate it, and they'll be monsters. They'll be good vegetables. We put it in our sauerkraut.
Oh, nice.
In fact, Yeshua just made sauerkraut today, and one of the big issues is plantain in there.
Yeah, when I came back from Peru in 16? Yeah, in 16, I got bit by a bunch of mosquitoes or bugs. Or you've been to South America. You know the bugs there.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it until I got onto the plane. And my legs started to itch, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I had these bites, and so I took the plantain, chewed it up, and
just like poison ivy.
Yeah, and I just put it on there, and it took a few days, but it started to go away. But I tell you, that was horrible.
Since I mentioned poison ivy, we need to make clear that plantain does not denature the oil, the toxic oil.
Not. Right.
Plantain is you hit the table.
I did.
Plantain is a mucilaginous saponifier. It's soap, and it helps you remove the oil before it goes into your skin. So the same sort of thing can be happening with certain insect bites with plantain. The enzyme in your saliva and substances in the plantain can be drawing the poison out of the bite, which is way cool, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be in every garden. Mugwort, of course, is perennial. Yarrow, perennial. So, we're going through a lot of them here that are perennial, and that is way cool. Skullcap, perennial. Echinacea, perennial. Coltsfoot, perennial. Thyme, perennial. Mint, perennial. Angelica, depending on the winter.
Yeah. If winter's too hard for Angelica, it'll It'll beat it back and you'll have to replant.
Yeah, it'll kill the root. But if
Yeah.
it's not a real below zero type of winter, in your area, it's kind of mild, it'll probably come back every year because it grows back from the root.
Okay.
Fennel, you're going to have to plant every year.
It's a vegetable.
Yeah, and besides that, at the end of the year and you have fennel, you take it out of your garden, you clean it up, and you put it in a recipe and eat it for dinner.
Exactly.
Marshmallow is a weed. So
Yeah.
the vast majority of what we just talked about, you put in and you cultivate and you care for it, but you don't really ever have to plant again.
Good, good.
Unless you let the rest of your weeds in your yard destroy. Which brings me to grass.
Okay.
Lawn, grass is the absolute enemy of the herb garden.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why. Grass is the actual dominant top of the pyramid predatory species on this planet. Grass owns the world. We are here by permission of grass.
Grass has literally adapted itself over the millions of years of its evolution to almost every single natural biome on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the Arctic.
Yeah.
Hasn't been really found that much in the Antarctic. There has been grass found in the Antarctic.
Grass found in the Antarctic.
But it's ancient. It's in suspended animation. But
With all the aliens.
oh my gosh, if a person goes out and plants a perennial herb garden and allows grass to encroach and take over, it will be nothing but a nightmare because grass it'll just devour everything. And it sets up such a network of roots that you have to take up the soil to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But don't. You need to kill your whole yard, kill all the lawn, cover it with 8 inches of wood chips, and plant your herbs and be a good boy.
He'll be okay.
Grass. Were you aware that lawn care, counting the grass itself, and the lawn care products and the equipment and the time and everything, constitutes the second largest agricultural industry in the United States?
I didn't know that.
If I were to
That's
ask you, what are the 3 largest agricultural industries in the United States? What are the largest crops? You'd say, oh, corn or soybean or wheat. Wrong.
The grass, huh?
It's that rotation wheat, soy, corn. And second, it's grass.
Well, that makes sense.
It's crazy.
Everybody wants a beautiful lawn.
Yeah.
And that's dumb.
Yeah.
If you have a dog, you need about 10 square feet of lawn.
Yeah, the dog fertilizes the lawn really good.
Well, they like it's cooling and it's nice. And if they need to throw up, they can go eat some grass and throw up on your carpet. If you have children, the lawn is nice, admittedly. If you live where there's a lot of ticks, the lawn, I guess, is essential. I mean, you drive around here and you've got people with 50 acres of lawn and they're out there every day. The lawn, and it's all because of the tick.
So personally, I've never known a lawn to actually help with the tick situation.
No, you walk across the lawn, you still get a tick on you down here.
So I think it's more cultural, colloquial myth than anything.
Man, you've never seen such lawns.
So here's a funny thing. You know, dogs usually eat grass, right? But they look for a particular type of grass. Because I have sweet grass that I grow and I braid it and I sell it or whatever I do with it, and they will eat my sweet grass.
Yeah. What they're actually after are long strand lignans that cause them to choke. If it's a grass that simply turns into food for them, it doesn't make them throw up. It's the strands that get caught in their throat that they have that excite the gag reflex and make them.
It's just funny because it's like I keep telling Lulu, that is my sweet grass. She's like, I just want to use it,
I know it's your sweet grass. It's
perfect.
That's for me.
And you look at it, it's all frayed. I'm like, I can't do anything with that, Lou.
Right. Thank you very much. And there's another thing is that animals that we generally ask to be co-inhabitants in our environment are usually animals that are close to our own type, the cat and the dog. Specifically the dog. they know what is medicine. They know that you have planted that medicine for them.
Yeah, she knows.
They will take full advantage of this medicine that you so conveniently and charitably planted for them. And they don't help to care for them. They're
No.
not good cultivators.
That's not what they're for.
No, they're to destroy, maim, and ruin everything.
They were supposed
Especially
to be.
Lulu.
They're supposed to be hunting companions.
But she's smart though, you know. She knows which ones to take
they
on
are.
to eat. You know, she knows.
All right.
It's like I said, can't you just eat that? When she looks at me like,
What are you, stupid?
what were you thinking about dog or what?
What do you know what I need? You know what I need? What's interesting is that this is really kind of cool. I don't know how much time you've spent in the big physic gardens or medicinal gardens that are around. Have you walked through and sat for an afternoon in a medicine garden ever?
And someone else's medicine garden?
I mean, one of the big ones, the botanical gardens that are specifically.
It's been a while.
Did you not notice that there were plants that you really wanted to be close to? And not
Yes.
necessarily because of the smell or their environment.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You
They're-
feel.
Yes, you do. I do believe, because when I went to the conservatory before, different regions also called to me too. You know, like the tropics, you would think it would call to me because I'm from South America, but not so much. It was more of the desert, the you know, the cacti, you know, the grass, and it was really interesting. Like I was really called to those. Really called to me.
That's how a dog or a cat knows what to eat.
Yeah, interesting.
Now, what we just talked about
Tequila.
Well,
Make some
I
agave.
think that's really interesting because one of the most useful southwestern desert plants for the kidneys and for maintaining fluid in your body and proper functioning of your bowel, your lungs, and your kidneys is Nepal,
Nepal. Okay. Yeah.
which is prickly pear cactus.
Yeah. Cactus.
It's mucilaginous, it's liquidy,
Mhm.
it's bitter and not wonderful, and they eat it by the bucket load
Yeah.
because there is an internal issue about water retention.
Yeah.
So your body
Yeah.
knows.
I know.
Yeah, the challenge with this is for people who have limited space.
Yeah.
If you have a deck, you still need 21 herbs, right?
Yeah. I have a little permaculture deck thing going because the soil here is not really good.
Yep.
And so that's one of my issues here. Not like the other house where I had soil, we built it up, we did well.
Right.
And so here I kind of did the permaculture pot type thing
Mhm.
because the soil, I could control the soil, I guess, to
Yeah,
some
you
degree.
have to be replacing that soil and feeding that soil all
Yeah.
the time. Pots use up.
That's the only problem with the pots. Yes, that is
Yep.
correct.
Yeah, and that is as much an issue of the sun as it is the plants that you have in it.
Mhm.
Hmm.
You have decomposition that's happening at a very rapid pace in a pot. It's
Mhm.
slower in the earth, down in the soil. But you do have to take care of that and be mindful of that stuff. It's tougher, I think, for a lot of people to grow a truly medicine garden on a deck or a patio.
No, yeah, I agree.
It is to actually have some room to spread out, because very often you can't grow enough to be useful, and that gets frustrating, and so you just stop.
Yeah, but I love my garden.
You should.
I love what I grow because I use it.
Yeah.
There's really, I don't even think I grew vegetables this year, except for a couple of tomato plants. So everything's just herbs and
I know
things
we've
that
had so much rain.
Yeah, we haven't had any rain.
Our greens are doing great. I've got massive collards already.
Yeah, nice.
And all that. Whereas last year it was tough to get them to grow at all. So every year's a little bit different.
Cool.
Now here's
Awesome.
another issue. We talked about fermenting. The way that our ancestors all over the world, not just the Native Americans or the Germans, the way that all of our ancestors really preserved food for the winter was through fermentation before there was refrigeration. Now, since we have refrigeration, we don't need to ferment anything anymore, right?
Most people know. Yes.
Most people do not. Most people do not like fermented foods. It's icky, it's gross, and therefore we don't need it. We don't want it. Come not near me. But
and then we wonder where our gluten intolerance.
That's right. From. We evolved right alongside fermentation.
Interesting.
We actually need the fermented foods. And I'm not just talking about beer
or pickles, right?
Well, pickles are not fermented food. Pickles are just. Well, they're pickled in vinegar. But they're not fermented in the vinegar. If you fermented the pickles in the vinegar, they would be too mushy. You wouldn't like them. You'd throw them away.
Like my grandkids love pickles. They'll eat a whole jar in a day.
Yeah, I like pickles too, but I'm talking about ferments.
So you're talking like cabbages of some sorts and like kimchi, sauerkraut.
That sort of thing. What's interesting is about all these little papers is that every single one of these plants that you're growing for medicine should be going in your ferment.
We talked about that.
A little bit in every time. The sauerkraut that Joshua just made, I think he said that it has collards, it has kale, and that's your foundation plants. It has Japanese knotweed, which you probably have a lot of, by the way, that you can't really buy seeds for.
Japanese knotweed. I have to look that up.
Knotweed. You should grow that too for the immune system. Knotweed and skullcap together are the bomb. But he's got knotweed in there. He's got, what else did he put in there? Yellow dock. No, those are two weeds.
The curly dock?
The curly dock, yellow dock. Curly dock has the yellow rut. It's got plantain. It's got spearmint. And it's got lemon balm. And it has shiso.
Oh wow! You just like
that's our sauerkraut this time.
Well, that's pretty cool.
What's going to happen is
I'm excited to find out what it tastes like.
Oh my gosh! When you make a sauerkraut, it's usually stinky. This smells wonderful, and it tastes wonderful. It's just an absolute.
You should see your face because it's priceless right now.
I mean, it is wonderful. I take an egg, and I'll cook it in with some stir-fry vegetables. What I do is I take frozen vegetables and I put them in the pot and I just thaw them and make them warm because I like them raw. I don't cook them till they're mushy. When they've thawed and they're warming up, I'll poach my egg in those vegetables. I'll crack the egg in the vegetables.
Yeah.
Garlic and salt and chilies. And then I'll put that on a piece of toast and I'll put a big whole honking handful of sauerkraut next to it. And I'm in heaven.
Awesome.
Absolute heaven. Now what that does for you is it is medicine by eating your medicine for your lungs, for your bowel, for your kidneys, for your skin. All these things happen at once. And it's not like you're taking a drug or a remedy or this preparation or that preparation. It's because you have incorporated this into your pattern language of living.
Right.
That's true medicine. That's why you should grow a medicine garden so that you can make it part of your pattern language. It's not so that you can, be following the advice of somebody in your social media group who got it off of Mr. Google Pants.
Yeah.
I swear to you, if you were to take, you should, when we're done here, do this.
Okay.
Take the herb, let's see. Elderberry. Elderberry is a tree. It's a big bush. Most people can't grow that on their deck, but you should plant them in your backyard since you have one to plant. Elderberry, you should. Everybody should. But take elderberry and go into Mr. Google Pants and search elderberry toxin.
Yeah.
Is elderberry toxic? Guess what you will get tons of?
Yes.
Elderberry is toxic. Don't eat elderberry.
Cyanide in it.
Never eat the herb. Never eat the berry. Never ever eat the root. Never use elderberry because you will die. Now go out.
I've heard that before.
Well, yeah, it's like now go out and punch in elderberry edible.
There's a difference, huh?
And the answer is just as often, yes. punch in elderberry medicinal character or medicinal qualities, and you will get yes.
This is how Google Pants works.
Mr. Google Pants is smart. He knows that he's really just to sell you stuff. So he will tell you exactly what you are searching for.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. There's a plant that looks like elderberry. I don't forget what it was called, but there's always a question if it is elderberry. It kind of grows in your yard. It's really big and purple.
I've heard some people confuse currants with elderberry.
Yeah,
especially when they're smaller plants.
Currants have thorns. No, elderberry is elderberry. There are different kinds of elderberry.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still elderberry. You've got your red, you've got your eastern, you've got your western, you've got your African, you've got your Asian. You've got some that are hybrids that are just because they're good yard plants.
Yeah.
But elderberry is elderberry. There's not plants that are mimickers. You wouldn't be looking for them anyway because everybody knows elderberry is poisonous and you shouldn't have it in your yard anyway.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Idiotic.
I'm trying to think. I can't.
I get it sometimes in my yard. They're these big purple plants. They just pop out of nowhere. Yeah, they're just kind of random. They're purple.
Themselves are purple.
And it looks like elderberry. It looks kind of like, the little elderberry things. And people get confused and they say, oh, that's poisonous. Don't eat that because that's.
You should send us a picture because I don't know what plant you're.
Yeah, I'll look that. I don't have any in my yard right now.
If we have them. I wonder if we have them.
I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to send a picture because you might go, yeah, don't eat that.
And you might go, what it is.
And you might go, I don't know what it is.
Or we'll say, yum.
Put it in your sauerkraut. Yeah. The word about elderberries. The berries themselves are not anywhere near as useful for medicine as the young tender branches with the leaves. And people don't realize this. So when you buy a product off the shelf that has elderberry, it's good for virus, it's antiviral. It's not. It's just
it has antioxidants.
It's got great antioxidants. It's got vitamins, and it's good for you. But it's tradition. They're selling you tradition.
Sambucas.
Yeah, sambucas is the most useful part of sambucas is the young tender sprigs with the leaves. That is where the medicine is. I mean, there's medicine in the berries, sure.
Yeah, but I think that's where
I would much.
Yeah. All right, cool.
And the plant does like to concentrate certain small amounts of cyanic acid in its stems, in its roots. But before anybody gets all crazy about it,
before you start getting messages,
it's not cyanide.
No,
it is a cyanic acid that is very easily denatured on the stove top or in fermentation.
Right. It's
very easily denatured.
It doesn't break down to cyanide. Your body doesn't break it down to cyanide. There's been one case essentially of poisoning, and that's because of an allergy.
Okay.
So, give me a break. People die from allergies.
It's like curly doc's the same way, right?
Oh yeah, it can upset your stomach.
Upset your stomach.
But I mean, eat too many apples off the tree.
Yeah.
You shouldn't eat apples because if you study apples, you're going to find that the seed of the apple contains cyanic acid.
Yeah.
So therefore, you should not eat apples.
Don't eat the seeds, right?
No, I mean, I've eaten the whole apple all my life.
I've eaten the seeds too.
Yeah. Come on.
And nothing. I'm still here. A tree grew in my stomach, but hey,
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. So growing the herb garden is, if you're a gardener and you like gardening, remember, kids, if you like sports, go ahead. Garden, do it, but don't neglect the medicine in favor of, the vegetables.
So you're saying plant with purpose. Basically,
yes.
Plant with purpose and have a plan.
Be concise because there's so many options.
Yeah,
you could end up with a beautiful garden that is just nice to look at.
I show you. Let's go to Ohio. Eastern states.
They can't see it.
I'm going to throw it up.
They can't see it. You should read it.
I'm going to throw it up. See how little that font is?
Yeah, it's real small.
Okay, it goes on. These are the plants that you should grow. It goes on for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages.
Is that Duke or green?
This is green.
That's green.
James Green.
Yeah.
And it's all correct. But how do you, as we said earlier, how do you decide what you need to grow in your herb garden? It's not what he grows in his herb garden. It's not what Dr. Duke grows in his herb garden. It's not what your botanical garden is going to grow in their physic garden.
It's not even what we grow.
Well, we'll have everything.
We'll have everything.
We'll have everything that we can grow in this climate in our garden. We're even creating microclimates that are climate zone higher than the rest of the yard so that we can grow things like figs and pomegranates and things like that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't mimic somebody else's garden. Grow what you have decided by critical thinking, critical decision making. What you've decided is the garden for you. And that's my admonition to everybody who wants to grow herbs. I do want everybody to grow herbs and put all these stinking consumer-based products out of business.
Yeah.
I live in reality.
It's true.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Yeah.
No, but I've learned a lot today. Just me being the case study here about what's going on with my body.
Is that what you guys were doing?
Yeah, between the two of us, we have a lot the same problem, so why not?
Well, that's always cool.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what our connection is, that we have similar situations in our body. That's our floras connect somehow.
Yeah, as far as he's concerned, we're both fat. We have that connection.
But yeah, so we're winding down now with our time on the clock.
On that note.
But I want to thank you guys for being here, but I want you guys to leave something with our listeners, something that we've said a lot tonight, but something that they can take home with them and how they can get a hold of you if they want to work one-on-one with you in a session, if they're a person who can't really grow a garden because they live in an apartment or some situation where they're just incapacitated and they can't do it. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, we are, we're putting in what is called a physic garden, and we're doing enough volume to where we can help people who, like you say, can't do it themselves. We are not going into commercial production of anything, but we don't need to. We will create for anybody customized medicine that we can help them decide what they need.
And we teach individual herbology lessons related to the medicine wheel, and it's always pertinent to where they are in their medicine wheel.
Right.
So it's not just, we're going to study
medicine.
Yeah, we're not going to study the 200 herbs that we use in our medicine wheel. No, we focus on educating individuals on how to use the herbs themselves, pertinent to their life, their condition.
That was a key point that I kind of wanted to make and leave with everybody, is that I talk about the medicine wheel all the time as if it's the medicine wheel.
Right. Yeah. A wheel.
Square box we call the medicine wheel. You can buy a bunch of books and they have different colored models, and it's the medicine wheel. Everybody knows that this is that Indian-y Red Indian savage medicine called the medicine wheel. Well, it isn't. The medicine wheel is you. It's a method of decision making that covers all the bases. That's why it was used.
Yeah.
Awesome.
By just about all the tribes had some version of the hoop or the medicine wheel. We apply that to healing, and just as we apply it to everything else in life, it is critical decision making, not taught anymore, not taught anywhere anymore. So that's one of the things that we teach, and that's one of the reasons we're planting the physic garden, is to be able to take either the person or a video camera out into the garden, and it's going to be very helpful not only to make medicine, but to help teach about it. But we medicine wheel the person's individual needs.
We teach people how to do this for themselves, and we teach practitioners how to do this for their clients. And our classes, our contact information, it's all online on nemenha.org or by private message on Facebook. That's how we roll these days.
Yep.
Okay. Very good.
And if you ever get a hold of my telephone number, which only the most elite and elect and select individuals are allowed to have, but should you know very well that it's a really dumb, cheap phone and coverage is terrible.
Yeah.
No,
Text.
we do this by Zoom.
Yeah.
Our lessons are by email and by Zoom.
Yeah, we just don't have the
Zoom
kind
is
of,
awesome.
We don't have the kind of coverage out here that can
Yeah.
really. I have to stand out in the middle of the county road to have a conversation on my phone.
Oh, I
So
know.
that-
You've had to
that's
go
not
up.
just-
You had to go up to the dam one time to talk to me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We did because of the reception or the whatever you call it, bandwidth was so bad. So people get frustrated. They say, "Well, you're not accessible. We can't get a hold of you.
Mhm.
You're isolated, and you're not really serious about helping people. And I don't like your energy."
Nah, online classes.
Online.
Online classes
You,
is the
you
way
see
to
my,
roll.
this is my timer. Everybody wonders how I do my shows. These candles are perfectly 90
We do.
minutes.
Oh, that's
They're
awesome.
90 minutes. Yeah.
Sweet. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So that's how I know. The ancestors will say, hey. No, gentlemen, really, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And, everybody who's listening and who's tuning in, I hope that you take a nugget or a piece or something or contact my friends here because they know what they're doing. And, so they don't, when it comes to your health and their health, and they're really, really, they're top notch. I highly recommend them. And so I hope that you are able to get something from the show tonight. I'm going to try to have them on once a month, sharing their thoughts, picking their brain, because this is a historical document now, forever.
Yeah,
learn
that's
from.
right. It's recorded.
Yep.
So,
We did it now.
so either way, I want to thank Jonathan. I want to thank Cloudpiler for being with me tonight. And, we're going to call it a wrap. So I'm going to say, it's good to be here.
It's good to be
here.
And I will see everybody next time here on Iggy Garcia Live on the With Insights Radio Network.
Way cool.
All right, guys.
Good night. Thank you.